What up, you guys? I hope you're doing well. We're here for our weekly energy oracle forecast. We are taking a look at the week ahead to see what kind of spiritual and energetic weather we will be having. I had a fiasco play out before work today. So funny. I went out to clip some rosemary to put in my tea. When I was coming back in, I noticed that a little green garden snake was like slithering into my back door, and I was like, ah! I can handle a lot, but snakes, apparently I completely flip out. And so it's like going into my door, I'm able to like close the door really quickly and trap the snake in the little rubber thing under the door. So it wasn't dead. It wasn't like I didn't kill it. It was just held there. And I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? So I run out into the front yard and I'm like looking down the road and I'm like, do I see any men? Please, God, send me a man. And so there's nobody in sight except for my one neighbors who I'd already approached them once, and I had my hair in a towel. And I think I was like, had my hair in a towel when I approached them before. It was like I needed somebody to open a jar that I couldn't get open, and they just like kind of looked at me funny. And so I didn't want to go ask them to help me because, I didn't want them to think I was obsessed with them. So I'm like, oh gosh, what am I gonna do? So I start to go back inside the front door to get like some kind of clamp or something, thinking I can take a grip clip and like grab hold of the snake and like toss it into the woods. And I was like, well, that's gonna be painful for the snake. I was like, oh my God, just send someone along. So right about that time, my neighbor, this man is pulling up into his driveway next door. And I went over there and I was like, hey, and I was like, sorry to bother you. I told him the story. I was like, I know it's harmless, but I can't bear it. I can't bear to touch it. It's like, it's wiggly, it's slithering. I can't. So he came and he got rid of the snake. But I just thought, oh, that's so funny because we are just out of our, like, we're in the, finishing touches of that Virgo new moon energy. And we're in the month of Virgo, the month of Elul, where we do the self-reflection so that we can do our teshuvah, our atonement, our repentance, to essentially try to correct for the sin of Adam, to correct the fall of Adam. And Adam was in the Garden of Eden, and who tripped Adam up but the opponent in the form of a snake. And so I just thought, oh my gosh, what a great reminder, God. Sin is always crouching at the door. Fear is always crouching at the door. Darkness is always crouching at the door, just waiting for that door to be left open, just a little crack to get in through your fear, through your doubts, through your anxiety, through a prejudice or a grudge. Any little space, that's where the opponent gets in, and that's where the opponent trips us up and stills our sparks of light. And we have to earn those sparks back through a process of awakening and elevating our consciousness and our soul. And so I thought, oh, that's so interesting because we're going into this month trying to really, in earnest, wrap up old soul contracts, break old patterns, expose faulty belief systems, all of those things. We're trying to really do like an overhaul of like soul marathon, right before Rosh Hashanah, which is the birth of all mankind. So it's the birthday of Adam, from Adam and Eve, and the same day that they fell in the garden. The same day as the snake and all of that stuff. So it's just like, it was so on theme for the snake to show up today, try to slip in the house right at the beginning of this season. And it's like a warning. It's like, hey, watch out for the way the opponent tries to slip you up and cause you to trip and stumble. It's so funny when I'm in the forest and I start down a negative thought pattern. The creator always has me stub my foot on a root, on a tree root on the path. And I'm always like, snare and a stumbling block. Thank you. Thank you. The bad thought was a snare and a stumbling block. Get me off the path and disconnected from the creator and into a reactive mode, right? So what the funny thing is that just after that, so I was running a little bit late to work, getting ready, and my nervous system is disrupted because of this. And so I've realized this about myself: when I have a dysregulated nervous system, I become more obsessive compulsive and hypervigilant and paranoid. And so that usually ends up costing me a lot of time because I have to go around in circles, like obsessively checking things and overdoing that. And so that started up that pattern, and I stopped myself. I was like, no, I will not waste this time and this energy. I know that the opponent is just trying to mess with me because I am hypervigilant right now, because I am dysregulated. There's no actual threat. This is an illusion. So I was able to catch that one, and then finish getting ready. I leave. I'm like running late for work. I'm like, oh my gosh. And as I'm like 5 minutes away from my house, I start to second guess whether or not I've unplugged my my hair curler, my hair straightener. And that, I know, like, if I was you, I'd be like, hair straightener, you have curly hair. I use it to like spiral my hair in curls. So I'm on the road. I'm like, oh, should I turn around and go back? Maybe I should turn around and go back and just double check. It'll be fine. I'll have grace if I show up a few minutes late. And I'm like, no. I am confident that at the very least, in my hypervigilance, when I left the house, I probably overchecked that hair tool was unplugged. I'm sure it did. And now this is the opponent. This is that snake getting in, trying to confuse me, trying to throw me off, trying to, cause me to be in a disheveled, dysregulated state and be, beside myself when I get to work. And then that'll start my whole shift in the wrong seed level, right? So I was like, you know what? No, right now I'm going to trust and believe in certainty that the hair tool is unplugged. And even if it wasn't, I trust that everything is going to be safe and taken care of. Because recently I came home and like this never happens, but I actually did leave the coffee pot plugged in and on. Like my coffee pot's possessed and it won't turn off unless I unplug it. So I have to unplug it every day. And I never leave things on. I never, leave things turned on. Whenever I go back and double check, it's always that I never left it on. But this time I left it plugged in and on. The hot plate was on the whole time I was at work. And I never even had the faintest second thought that I had forgotten something, And so I was reminded of that verse, lest the Lord keep your house, your labor is in vain. So I was like, Creator God, I don't think that you have it in your will for me to for my house to burn down right now in my life. But if that's the way that I need to learn, I accept that. But I think that I'm getting into a space where I can learn effectively through love and through pleasant experiences. At least not, I don't think I need something as extreme as like my house catching on fire and my neighbors suffering because of it. So I trust. And as it turns out, when I came home, it was burnt to ashes. No, I'm kidding. Everything was fine. Nothing was left. Everything was put away neatly, but telling that illustration just to share about those symbolic moments in life where, those little messages are there and they're there as a reminder. That little snake was there to say, hey, you have the potential to unleash and change and heal so much and unleash so much light this month. It is a very powerful month for major transformation and change and literally changing the trajectory of your current destiny, right? We're rewriting the script this month. And so we're aligning with that authentic core self within and becoming more and more like the creator, little by little, just backsliding every step of the way, but we're doing what we can. And when we reveal that light, it's never lost again, right? So let's get into the week. No further ado. Yes, so making the most of Virgo season. Virgo, we can really bring our soul into, like, we can work on perfecting our soul, you know, because the Virgos, they're so good. We were talking about Virgos at work tonight, how I love Virgos. I think Virgos are amazing because I love them because they care about things being right. And my friend said, you know, female Virgos care about things being right. Male Virgos just care about seeming right. So they go on the high horse, whether they're right or not. But like a good old Virgo, they'll pay attention to detail. They'll be precise. They'll make sure that something is good and correct. And I love that about them, in that perfectionistic way, as long as they don't punish themselves and torture themselves with it. Anger. Okay, things could be triggering our anger this week. So the little snake at the door might be playing on your anger, right? So try to see early signs of that coming up in yourself, right? A lot of times we fuel our own fire because we start entertaining thoughts that provoke our anger and, you know, stir the pot and make ourselves even more worked up. I know as an Aries with a Libra rising, I am fire, like, exacerbated by my own air. So I'll get like up in my head. I'll be that person that's having the full on like lip singing the conversation, like, and I'll catch myself in the mirror and I'm like, oh my God, I'm having an episode. You know what I mean? Like, you get up in your own head. It's as if the whole thing's really happening. And so we can start to catch ourselves in those early moments when we feel that something is triggering our buttons, our annoyances, and things are starting to build and our fuse is getting shorter. If we can see that sooner and take a step back and into the seat of the observer. Okay. And as the player in the game, I'm so glad I remembered this because I thought about this earlier today and I was like, I hope I can remember this later so I can talk about it in a video and then write it down as a concept to expand upon. But we talk often about life being like a video game. And as we move through challenges, we are victorious over those challenges, and then we move into the next level of life. But the opponent in every level, it like new level, new devil, right? And with every level that we like rise to the next level of the game, we can anticipate constantly going through that world within the game that there's going to be a constant opponent providing resistance. I love thinking of Mario because it's so pure and simple and right on the money. And this is like OG Nintendo Mario 1. Mario's going through this little world, and relentlessly there are little bad guys. They're all cute. Some of them look worse than others, but there's little mushrooms and there's little things. And everywhere Mario goes, he's got to jump on one and smash it, or jump over one, or, you know, try to reach a coin to get points and get big Mario'd. And so the opponent, just like that in our life, at every level we move up into, every time we elevate, like our opponent levels up with us to stand shoulder to shoulder with us and be just enough resistance where we can handle it, but it's up to us. It's our choice what we feed and what we entertain. And so if we know that whatever level we're in this week, the little bad guys are going to be provoking our anger, and they want us to crash out and go lose our shit, because when we become reactive like that, the sparks of light spill out and the opponent takes them. And we have to go through a process again of realization, of revelation, of changing, of forgiveness and healing and learning and all of that in order to gain those sparks back, to elevate the soul, or to reveal that level of light again. So as the soul elevates it, like it reveals more of its light, but then our negativity like puts like a film, like a resin or like a veil, layer by layer over that light. So the light that we reveal is there. It's just that it's been shrouded in our darkness, in this macabre misery and sorrow, anger. So the anger. So this week, watch out for your temper. And then, so we're players in the game. This was the metaphor. So when we're in the game, this is when we're conscious and we understand, okay, life is like a simulation, and every person and every experience that I have is coming at me with, it can serve a purpose. There's messages subliminally implanted in everything and symbolically implanted in everything. And every challenge can be an opportunity. And so everything is placed there precisely, very precisely. Nothing is accidental. And so it just depends on, okay, how awakened are we? How keenly can we perceive what is happening at any given moment? And are we able to pause and take a step back and observe the scene that's happening, so then we can choose with free will? So what happens is that tests come, the opponent sends us these little tests that we have to overcome. And when we are able to catch ourselves and pause, that is like saying, okay, I am an avatar in the game when I am forgetting and I'm buying into the illusion, and I forget that I am a conscious co-creator and I can see through the illusion. When I forget about the illusion and I suspend my disbelief again, and I'm kind of asleep in the game, and I'm going through the day and the negativity is presenting, and it's like I'm buying into it and I am getting sucked into the soap opera. Right? You're a player in the game at that point. The game is live. You are in, and you have kind of forgotten the rules at that point. So your choices at this point are organic. They're spontaneous. Your actions, the things that you choose or don't choose, are you using free will, or are you being reactive and affected? So how much self-control and awareness do you have over your consciousness? Now, take a moment in the game where you're like, oh yeah, pause, what a pleasure. Like the creator is within this, the game, this is an illusion. Like, what is life trying to provoke in me right now? What is life trying to show me? What is life trying to demonstrate? So in that moment, when you pause, it is almost as if you pause the game, you put the controller down, and then you get up and go get something to drink and you refresh yourself. So that is literally like taking a pause. Okay, I'm not in the game. I am a player in the game. I have control over this. I can pause and I can step away and I can observe and I can think about how I want to move through this level. How do I want to meet this challenge? How do I want to best my opponent in this scenario? What is the best way to get to the next level? What is the best strategy, right? What are the best cheat codes? So this is when we're like the detached observer, right? Now, if we do this enough times, pausing the game, taking the distance to be the detached observer, then it's like we start building this muscle where we can sleepwalk through the game, where we believe the game in a way, to a degree, but we have enough awareness and memory and remembrance that things can change within an instant, right? So we don't get sucked into the soap opera. It's like we're lucid dreaming at that point, where we can enjoy being within the game without being, when you're watching a movie and that person can't suspend their disbelief and they're so like skeptical and cynical about the whole thing and they can't really enjoy the movie. Like, sometimes I feel like having like a strong sense of prophecy and spiritual devotion, it can kind of get like that with life if we try to overdo everything, over control everything. It's only an illusion, and we want things to be more organic, right? And spontaneous too. We don't want to try to control every element of life. It sucks the joy and excitement and magic out of it. So it's like that fine line of being able to be in the game and enjoy it, but also be aware enough to pause in those moments so that you're not reactive, right? The goal is to be in a state of cause consciousness versus effect consciousness. Effect consciousness is when, oh, I see the threats that life is showing me and I'm scared and I'm freaking out and I'm panicking and I'm making like haphazard choices and I'm messing up. That is being affected. That is being effect consciousness. Buy now while supplies last. Ooh, I'm so excited. I don't want to have FOMO. I've got to buy now while supplies last. That is effect consciousness. Cause consciousness is saying, I am going to set my vibrational thermostat, and I don't care if I'm going into work and things are crazy. I'm going to stay chill. Nothing is going to disrupt my peace or my confidence in the way that the night is just going to unfold the way that the Creator intends it to. I'm going to surrender all my expectations, and I am going to be present, and I'm just going to show up for what life is dealing me in that moment, and I'm going to handle it, right? So we are going to be able to anticipate that our temper is going to be tickled this week. And so we need to try to master that and observe it and not just repress it, but really look at what is making us angry and why. And if we can change the way that we think and feel about those things, if we can shift our consciousness around something, then it changes the way we feel about something. For instance, and throughout my life, I have had mainly two categories of jobs. I have worked in film and television production, and I have worked in restaurants. There's a couple of things that I've done in between that were just like random, but like for the most part, this is my like expertise. I have worked as a server, and I have worked as almost everything on the film set. So when I was like after college, before I was working in film and I wanted to work in film, I was working as a server, and I had a chip on my shoulder about it because I wanted to be in this industry. I wanted to be full time. I didn't want to have have to have a side hustle or whatever. And I like felt almost like shame, or like I just had a lot of negative feelings about serving and being a waitress. And I was also working downtown at a brewery where people were just shitty and they were like the lowest of the low customers. So I wasn't a shitty waitress. They were shitty customers. So yeah, so I was traumatized. This is a high volume, high impact. Like I worked there for 4 years and nearly lost my mind. I was about to go crazy. And one day I got all of these synchronicities that were like telling me to quit, and I didn't know what I was going to do because I was not getting full-time gigs and not getting tons of gigs that kept me busy enough through the months to make ends meet. But I took the risk, and I couldn't go another day, and I quit. And I thought, I'm going to burn this apron. I'm never going to go back to the restaurant industry ever again. And I worked in film for 13 and a half years and loved it until the last couple of years. And I was just so burnt out, and I didn't know what I was going to do after that. I didn't know what kind of job I was going to look into. I didn't have anything that was drawing me in any particular direction. And then my nephew and niece, or his wife, worked at this dinner place in a neighborhood close to the neighborhood that I live in. And it was a cute city suburb and easy parking. And it was a nice place with great hours and a good average cost of everything on the menu. So I knew I'd make decent money. And I never thought that I would ever go back to restaurant jobs again after the trauma of the experiences that I had had before. And this time I was like, no, I love this. Like, after the film industry exhausted me and I had enough novelty, I was like, I would love to have just like somewhere where I know I have a parking spot every day. And it's just a nice, pleasant, short drive to get there. And I have easy hours and I can do what I want in the day. And I saw the job with completely new eyes. And it's interesting too, because I have never had that chip on my shoulder again. And I've never had any tables that have ever crossed me or disrespected me. If anything, they sometimes are intimidated by me. And so it's like that, your consciousness about something changes the entire relationship you have to that thing. And it's also the easiest, fastest thing that you have control over that you can change. So when we are presented with things in life that we need to heal, that we need to transform, that we need to do work on, where we want to start is at our consciousness level, because that's like the spring, the natural spring of water, where the whole creek is fed from that spring. If you have like something that is contaminating that the spring head, all the water is going to be contaminated. So too are we. Our consciousness is the seed level through which everything flows through us. And so everything is flavored by that consciousness. So we are seeing where anger or dormant, packed down things that have been repressed are coming up, because that is leaking into our consciousness in maybe even subtle subconscious ways where we don't even see it and realize it. And it's like diluting our essence. Okay. Well, looking forward to the week. I'm got my vacation at the end of the week. Oh, okay. So you know what? We have to get over our anger, put the anger behind us, and let bygones be bygones, and find a way to come back to friendship. Right? We let go of that anger, and we forgive, and we vote for friendship. We vote for deepening bonds and establishing like goodwill towards men. Like literally, you may not be making friends with all of these people out there, generally speaking, but maybe like say you have anger directed out at a group of people, or at an ideology or something like that. It's like the conflict and adding to the conflict and adding to the anger is not going to heal the conflict. But finding ways to inject light and sharing into the darkness is going to be the salve that is the remedy, right? And for instance, with my dad, who is on the opposite end of the spectrum as me as far as like political ideology. And in this particular case, it feels like the political ideology is inherently inseparable from our spiritual values and how I was raised in my family to grow up and be and believe. And it's like, my dad's not being that way. You know, like, wait, we didn't raise you to act like this, Daddy. What are you doing? You know? And so the instinct is to want to boycott people and cancel them and push them away and not be around the people who are unpleasant. And first of all, my dad doesn't even notice if he's being boycotted. He doesn't even occur to him. He's in his own world. No one else matters to him. So like while I'm taking a stand and like really torn up about it, he doesn't give a shit anyway, right? So this is only having an effect on my tikkun, right? So my dad wants me to do Hanukkah, the Hanukkah thing, or he wants to come to a Jewish holiday. And it's like, for him, it's like he wants it to be a thing that he can like hold up like a big trophy or something. And so it's antagonizing all of the things in me that want to be like, this is all the reasons I'm canceling. And then say, roast him, right? But no, I can't do that. Like the assignment is not to create further division and drive the nail deeper. And whereas I've been putting so much effort into trying to honor my father and pursue a relationship with him, even though he's not. It's like at every turn, this man is so insulting and it's so painful. And it's just like, you're just like, oh God, I feel like a masochist. But it's a commandment, right? It's like, how do we properly honor our parents and try to love them through these things? And so it's like, I know that the answer is love, is putting my issues aside, and yes, picking a day during Hanukkah to host them, to do the thing, whatever they think it is, but to invite them into the ritual and to have that moment with them that might be very impactful, or it might be like everything always is, and it will make no impact, and they'll just have their big story and it will mean nothing. But what it will mean is that I voted against the darkness that is trying to seep in and create more division. And when we foster seeds of division, we cut ourselves off from the Creator, because we are not sharing affinity of form with the Creator any longer. The Creator is unconditionally loving and unconditionally sharing and patient and kind and compassionate and merciful, whether we deserve it or not. Just like the sun emanates light, whether or not we deserve it or not. So, the key is injecting spiritual generosity, open-heartedness, because say you're wanting to awaken someone who is sucked into this darkness and this hatred and this violence right now, right? We're not going to help awaken anyone or be inviting to someone to want to join our side if we are demonizing and shaming, right? And blaming. Now, when people are standing up to like ICE raids, that's one thing. But when we're in one-on-one personal relations with people where we have a chance to show love or at least tolerance and make an impact or not, and it's like we have to let go of the expectation of trying to make an impact, because then we don't have pure intentions. Then we have a motive, and then it becomes manipulative, and then it becomes coercive, right? So it just has to be unconditional. Whether or not you come around or not, I'm going to choose what's Christ-like. And that is to love my neighbor as I love myself. Whether it's my neighbor who is just on the other side of the driveway, or whether it's my neighbor in Gaza, or whether it's my neighbor in the Trump rally, right? Our neighbors are the people that we share this planet with. We are a human family. The lines that separate us are imaginary. They're made up. and the ideologies that separate us. It's by our choice. So we need to find more common ground and focus on that. And amazing, good sparks of light are piercing the darkness right now, right? We've got alligator Alcatraz being ruled by a judge, needs to be dismantled, right? And this was an environmental success through I think that the way to pronounce it was the Mesquite Indian tribe. It starts with an M. Oh, I'm apologizing if I have not gotten that right. But it was Native American activism, which, thank God, it was on protected land. But what about in other situations, right? So we still have a ways to go, because it wasn't that this was an atrocity to human dignity. It was to save the Florida Panthers. But either way, whatever gets the job done for now, right? But we're making progress. There have been other things that were like moments of good news, where it's like even just the consistent persistence of people saying, no, this isn't right, is making a difference. Oh, it was that they're having to take people away from FEMA to force them into being ICE agents because no one's signing up. And even with the extra bonuses, like, no one wants to do it. There's such a small group of people that actually are fervor for this, or fervent support of this. It's coming out, and people are willing to testify that are in the audit of this past year's election, but it's coming out that Kamala Harris did win by a landslide. So not that many people voted for Trump. And the people that did, that are making like a big stink right now, it's like, even they're just like, is it even worth it? Like, what are we even doing? Right? So the more that this evil is exposed, it's like it's beginning to lose its power, because people want unity. And when we cultivate unity, it's like that's when the Holy Spirit can come over us and provide us with protection and blessing. So showing love and unity. I can't help but keep seeing this on the bottom of the deck, but this is our opposition. So the opponent is going to be reaching for us from every angle. So we have to be aware of our opponent. It's going to try to pull us in, in different directions and put wedges between us and point out how, oh, I want this and you want that. It's going to point out everyone's conflicting agendas and desires this week. But we have to find common ground. We have to choose friendship instead of anger. And reflect. Oh my gosh. So in the midst of all of this, take plenty of time. In fact, it's set your alarm for a few times every day. Like, have an alarm that goes off a few times through the day to just check in, reflect. Okay, what are my thoughts right now? What is my consciousness? How am I feeling? Have I been like steaming about something? Have I been fuming about something? Like, am I content? Like, what are my thoughts? Am I blaming people? Am I aggressive? Like, where am I at? Like, keep reflecting. Keep doing teshuvah. Think about, the trajectory of your soul and the year to come and the year behind you. What were the things that you were working on? How do you want to finish strong? What parts of yourself do you not want to take with you into this next year? If we're getting a new soul, if we're doing a trade-in, right? And we're getting a brand new, cleaned up soul, then how do we not want to sully ourselves right off the bat going into this next new year with our new soul, right? I know I would like to have less temper. I would like to judge things less. Like, I would like to be able to just be a neutral observer more often and not judge things. Because you know what we've been learning this week in the Zohar portions is that when we cast judgment on others, that actually awakens the judgment within ourselves. And so what happens is when we look at someone and we start to feel critical about them, and we start to look at them with that bad eye, and we start judging them and criticizing them, usually we're latching on to something that we have been guilty of either in this life or in a past life. And so that thing that we're judging them for is we are also guilty of that too. And so when we judge that in them, it's like the only fair thing is that we are judged also by like the spiritual watchers and guards of the paths, so to speak. So like, judge not lest ye be judged, right? So as when we judge and we find ourselves being all judgy, that is actually activating judgment against us. And so it's going to come back and slap us, because whatever we are guilty of, we're going to get judged for that thing. So we're not going to get grace. If we're not showing grace, we're not going to get grace. So this year coming up, the numerology of the next year ahead is like supposed to be, it's the same numerical value as like, so there's the name of God, the tetragrammatron that describes the merciful God, God in his mercy and kindness, Yud He Vav He. Then there is God when God is exacting judgment and restriction, and that is Elohim. Well, the numerical value of this year is the same as the numerical value for Elohim. So this year is expected to be very like binary and dualistic. It's going to be pretty like contrasting and extreme. It's like either you're like the way that you perceive the things that are happening to you this year will either feel like a blessing or a curse. And many times the way that we perceive something will determine whether or not it becomes a blessing or a curse for us. And so what defines a blessing is what brings us closer to the Creator. And what is a curse is something that brings us further from the Creator, creates separation and distance from the Creator. So reflecting on all of those things over this month is a whole month dedicated to reflection and setting ourselves up for the best new year ahead. So keeping that in mind, this next year could be very intense energy and heightened experiences. And it might feel like, wow, this year's a blessing or it's a curse. And that is because it's a year of judgment. So there's going to be a lot of pressure being pushed on us from the outside, but it's the kind of pressure that is like the evolution that causes our soul to expand through meeting challenge, through perfecting the vessel. All right, you guys, I intended to make this a shorter video because I know we've had a lot of longies this week, but there were some anecdotes that needed to be shared and stories that I thought were relevant and helpful examples. So we will be back together tomorrow for our weekly anchor message. And that is when we will get our spiritual assignments for the week. So we will probably look more into what the anger and all of that is about. And I'm sure it'll expand upon those themes. So we'll talk then. Ciao.